This is interesting because our own Arthur James O'D has written a very interesting long-form piece on otbsports.com today about Ruud van Nistelrooy. Well worth a read. He has spoken to Ramon Calderon, Martin Royce, Sir Kenny Cunningham, Fapa Dahan and Paul McShane about the Dutchman, Ruud van Nistelrooy, prolific goal scorer for Manchester United, 150 goals in 219 games for the Red Devils. Did you ever encounter Ruud van Nistelrooy in your playing career, Stephen?
Yeah, I played against him when he was at Man United. Again, it was a bit like Cavani. Ruud was immense. It was an immense player, I think. And the Premier League, and if you remember, I think when he first was due to come into the Premier League, he'd done his cruciate, and the move was put back a year, wasn't it? And you're thinking, well, maybe he's missed the boat, but he kind of got himself back after his injury, and he came to Man United, and for a few seasons he was phenomenal, wasn't he? And if you watch all his goals, all his goals came from inside the box. I remember actually when I was at Preston North End, and our manager at the time, Alan Irvine, used to say to us, to the forwards, there was myself, John Park, and Chris Brown and Neil Mellor, who we would have been the four strikers at the football club at the time, and again, we were going through a patch where we weren't scoring many goals. And I always remember Alan Irvine said to me, he says, go and watch that. He took us into the video room with the video analysis, and he put a kind of Ruud van Nistelrooy montage on. He says, watch him, watch his movement in the box and get yourself in them positions. And he made us watch them and just learn from him. And even at that level when we were playing, like Alan Irvine, like even at that age, I don't know what age I would have been at that stage, mid-20s, similar to the other lads, and we were sitting there watching Ruud van Nistelrooy's movement, trying to kind of learn from him, even to score some goals. Right enough, I didn't score many goals after watching it, but a few of the other lads did. But he was a phenomenal forward. And again, I'm talking about a player playing in a world-class team, winning Premier Leagues. And I think as well, you listen to ex-Man United players speak about Ruud van Nistelrooy when he played. Remember, I would have been in Roy Keane's presence. I don't know where or when I was, but I remember he was speaking to us about Ruud van Nistelrooy, saying how good he was and that he was just an absolute machine. Like, just his whole mindset was score goals, and that was all that he was bothered about, just scoring goals. And you could see it in the way he played. And again, there's not many strikers out there at the moment, like out and out strikers like him in the game anymore.
I read Arthur's piece, John.
Very good, yeah.
And it's sort of striking. I mean, by the way, it's a weird guest list of people that he spoke to there. It's like a Big Brother house selection or something. You could pop them all in there. It's a diverse list of characters. But like that whole point that struck you is like how he was 100%. Like sort of selfish in a way. Like, he wouldn't enjoy the game if he didn't score. And there's obviously, like, I suppose, and like, I don't know, Stephen, like, can strikers sometimes become too unselfish that they lose that you probably sometimes need to have that streak in you, maybe. And obviously you come out and do an interview and say, well, of course, the main thing is the team won today, and I'm very happy the team won. But he sensed that Van Nistelrooy really drove him, drove him mad if he didn't. And like some players probably just need to have that streak in them. That's certain selfishness, but it does actually help the team as well. But it's sort of their single-minded focus.
Yeah, I think Ruud, like the way he played, I remember even at the time, because I would have watched him closely, you'd listen to him and listen to people, even John O'Shea speaking about him, and he'd say he wouldn't be happy if he didn't score, even if the team won 3 or 4-0. If he didn't score, he'd be fuming after the game. Now, and I played up front, but when I played, like, I don't think I had that kind of, I don't think I ever felt that way myself personally, because I would have played up front, but I played on the right wing and the left wing as well, so I played in different positions. So although I was a forward, I used to, as long as I was in the team, because as a forward, especially at the teams I was at, there was always 4 strikers there, and you always were in a rotation. You'd play 2, and then maybe you play for 4 or 5 games, then the other 2, because I was never part in a team where a forward was as prolific, say, as a Ruud van Nistelrooy was, so he automatically played. So there was always rotations, but because I was kind of versatile enough where I could play on either kind of flank and kind of do a job there, like, so to speak, then I could probably, that as I got a bit older in my career, that kind of goal scoring kind of mentality in my mind went out a little bit, where I was more kind of worried about getting in the team and playing. Like, and again, it all depends as well on the style of team play. I remember when I was at Hearts, I would have played up front on my own, but my job in the team, obviously I didn't, my second season there, I didn't score as many goals as I would have liked, but the manager used to say to me, Paulo Sergio, Portuguese lad, says, listen, you're not there to score goals, but if you score, great, because my job in the team was just to run and be a pest to create space for the likes of Rudy Scatchell and other players who would have, like Rudy, I think scored 16 or 17 that year, but basically he never ran in the game. He used to just kind of sit in that just off me. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that I'm making excuses for the goal, but sometimes you set up in a way that's why managers are there, to set up the teams up to try and get results. But I don't think Ruud, you could ever say to Ruud van Nistelrooy, listen, you're playing, I don't want you to be not in the box, because if you watch him, his whole game kind of orientated around the box. If he came outside the box to feed the ball, his first thought would be, I'm going to get in the box. But let's be honest, he had some decent crosses putting balls in the box for him, didn't he, as well, at Man United? Probably helped his cause. But no, he was a fantastic striker, Ruud, probably the best of his era, I think, in the Premier League. Obviously, Thierry Henry would have been around that time, but I think he was a different player to Henry. He was more of an out-and-out forward, whereas Thierry Henry could pick the ball up in his own box and run by the whole team and score a goal, whereas I think I only remember Ruud van Nistelrooy doing that once in one game. He picked the ball up in the halfway line. I think it was Fulham at home. Remember, he picked her up and scored. But other than that, I can't remember Ruud scoring many goals where they weren't kind of crosses into the box or like picking, like passing into him in and around the 6-yard area. And he was a bit like Harry Kane. I think like he, more often than not, his goals were very similar to the way Harry Kane scores his goals in that 6-yard box.
53106. Manchester United fans, your fondness, your memories of Ruud van Nistelrooy, get in touch with us. If you want to check out the piece, and you should, OTBSports.com, Arthur O'Dee's piece on Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was born on the same day as Patrick Kluivert. I always found that a strange stat. The two players that end up going and playing alongside each other with the Netherlands.